Alright. I think brewy again. So, you went to Havelock School, alright, okay. So, when you left school at 16, yeah, right, what did you do then?
Well, I went to college and my first job I had was at a Jewish wholesale store down High Street called Morris's. And
Doesn't sound very Jewish.
well, it was. They were Jewish, whether they just used the name or not, I don't know. But they were. I think the only decent thing about it was the fact, needless to say, I did hate it. I was a salesperson there, and to be quite honest, the only good thing about it was the fact that every time there was a Jewish holiday, we were all off. So that was it was just a start. And then shortly after that, I finally got a supposed apprenticeship as an electrician.
Right.
But that company was G and Brown's, and to be quite honest, it didn't take long before we realised it was a bit of a fly-by-night company, and it was your Grandad Hartley.
So how come you didn't end up, say, working in the coal mines like a lot of other people your age at the time?
Well, I didn't want to work in the coal mines, and that was the last thing in the world I wanted to do, and I didn't want to work in the shipyards either. But I became an electrician, or shall I say, my father saw an advert in Woolworths, of all places. It was a subsidiary company that was working in Woolworths and asking for electricians and apprentices as well. So my dad suggested we should apply, and on the I got in, and the first place I worked at as a proper electrician, not working for G and Brown's, was the North of England Engineering and Electrical Company, which just the name gives you the impression sounds like a good company. And the first place I worked was Woolworths, and that was the thing. But can I get back to our family, because we're jumping ahead of ourselves. Talking in terms of the Yates family, I had 3 cousins, and there were 2 boys and a girl who were children of Eddie Yates and Doris Yates. Now they lived in Ilkley, in Yorkshire, and apparently I think it was Michael that went to school, or he certainly went to the same school. They all went to the same school as Alan Titchmarsh.
Oh, okay.
And it was quite amazing because they all became, well, to be quite honest, they taught me more than I think that I could ever wish to want to know. Because realistically speaking, Havelock wasn't a great school. It was a secondary modern school, and in today's standards it was quite poor. But having said that, they went to a grammar school in Ilkley, and I learnt a lot from them just by being with them on holiday with them, and realised that they were great cousins. And I often went down to Ilkley during my 6 weeks holiday and spent the time with my cousins. And believe it or not, in all honesty, it was Michael, in fact it was Michael and Martin that taught me how to ride a bike, a 2-wheeler bike. And I think your grandma and Grandad Hartley was a bit shocked when I came home and asked them that I wanted a 2-wheeler bike, because I was the kind of person that was, was a bit sort of a bit backward compared to what these were. And I once remember going down to Ilkley, and Michael had said to me that we're going out this afternoon with my school teacher, bearing in mind during the 6 weeks holidays which was a bit of a sort of a shock for me because I never ever went out with my school teachers. I never was involved with the teachers at school or anything like that. And to find I'm going out with Michael's school teacher to go rambling over the Ilkley Moors. And I found it just absolutely unbelievable. It was an extremely interesting day. And I remember, if there's anything I hated was eggs. You know, fried eggs, you know. And I remember walking over the Ilkley Moors, and by the time we'd finished, I was clamouring for something to eat. And we went to this pub, the teacher and Michael and me, and we got egg and chips, and I scoffed a lot. But it's just funny little things that happened. Getting back to Havelock School, if there's anything I learned at Havelock School, was our music teacher, and he was called George Turnbull, and we always called him Geordie Crotchet, which was a bit of a laugh like, but he always had a nickname for everybody else, so it made ours, you know, and I was called Jammy, with a name like Hartley. You can understand where it come from, but we never bothered. And it wasn't till my latter life that I realised how clever he was at teaching us music. And I was in the school choir, and what he taught us, it never seemed to be forgotten for me. And when I started doing a bit of karaoke and what have you, and so on and so forth, I never forgot how he taught us, what he taught us, and to this day, you know, it's been quite fascinating, really, you know. But yeah, it was, and I didn't remember he had a son, and believe it or not, he called him Havelock, which was the school we worked at. So the school must have meant something to him to call his son Havelock. And he's obviously dead and gone now, but I often wonder whether his son's still alive. You know. And we did at the time in school. We went in many competitions, and to be quite honest, as kids.
What was his name? Havelock.
You never.
Havelock what? Turnbull.
Yeah, Havelock Turnbull. And to be quite honest, I never realised. We went into many a competition, but as kids we never really bothered. It never really dawned. But we must have been good because we used to sing at a hall down the bottom of Hendon, and oh crikey, Sand Street Mission. It was a big hall, and we often used to sing there. So
Mr. George Havelock Turnbull.
It must be George. It's got to be him. Yeah. So he's put Havelock in it. And is he still alive?
It says he's a company director somewhere.
Where at, like?
Don't know.
And I mean, George is enough. George Havelock.
Some company called Scale Watcher UK Limited.
Who is it?
Mr. George Havelock Turnbull, Scale Watcher UK Limited. Whatever that is.
What did it do?
Scale Watcher.
Scale.
Scale Watcher UK Limited. Company director. Must have his own business.
It would be interesting to try and suss them out.
So you did your electrical apprenticeship thing?
Well,
And then what, went working in the shipyards anyway?
Yeah, well what happened was
Even though you didn't want to work in the shipyards, you ended up there anyway?
I ended up there anyway. But what happened, I ended up being an apprentice electrician. And without a shadow of a doubt, Farron, I know that I was given a good apprenticeship. because some of the stuff I was taught. You see, not only was the company, we worked on outside, what they call outside industry, factories and what have you.
Yeah.
And I served my time on it. But during the course of that time, we did a lot of work on what you call Pyrotenax. Now, Pyrotenax was actually made in Hebburn, in the northeast, but it was a special cable. You had to have knowledge of how to terminate the ends and what have you. I was taught how to do it. And I want to remember, while I was working in the shipyards, working on a ferry that was to be between the two islands of New Zealand. And there was only 2 guys working on that ship that knew how to do Pyrotenax. And it was on the galley range. And there was me and the foreman. Only 2 fellas on board that ship could do it. And me and my not my foreman, the shop steward, as it happened. And at that particular point, I realised then that yes, I was given an apprenticeship, because to be able to work Pyrotenax, and nobody else could. And yet there must have been at least 200 electricians on board a ship working on it. And the only 2 people that knew what to do with that cable was the 2 that was working on the galley range. So that it. And then, funny enough, I mean, I've served my time at the place, and I remember passing my driving test on the Thursday. I had the company van on the Monday morning. I nearly crapped myself.
So how old were you when you passed the test?
17. And to have the company van, and I had it all the way through my apprenticeship, taking the lads to work and bringing them home.
Where was it, down Teesside?
No, at the time, when I first got the van, I worked at a company in County Durham called Ransom and Marles. It was a ball bearing factory. And I had the job to take all the lads. Mine, I was gone 17, but I had all the lads to take to work. And I once remember coming home in the brakes field on the van, and I had a van full of lads, and I had the job to get them home, which I did. And I'm saying I had no brakes. I had a bottle of brake fluid because the pipes had ruptured, and I had to keep stopping the van and topping up the brake fluid in the reservoir to get them home. But I got them home.
So how long did you do the electrical thing for? I mean, I remember when I was a kid, you were still working as an electrician, probably in the 70s. Really, because I remember you, I think, wiring some shop in Whitburn somewhere.
Yeah, fish shop.
And you standing on a plank of wood and putting a nail through your foot or something.
I think I did. I think it stood on a nail. Yeah, probably. Yes, I remember that.
No, I don't know when that was. I'll have been very young.
Yeah.
I'll have probably been no older than about maybe 8, 9, 10-year-old or something.
Well, I got an injection. I did a better one than that, and that was in my teens when I went to St Luke's Boys Club.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I went to camp, school camp, and I went to plodge in the river and cut my foot wide open because I stood on a broken glass bottle. But yeah. But I went.
So you were still doing the electrical thing even like after I was born?
Oh yes, don't forget.
Well, you have to make bulb of them.
Well, what happened, what happened, you see, the thing was, going back onto another angle, I tell you what happened. Your granddad Hartley had a stroke. And your granddad wasn't very well.
Yeah.
I mean, he couldn't, he could speak, but he was total cabbage, but he could speak. There was many a thing you could understand him, and you know everything. And once a week, was it once a week, twice a week, once a week, they used to have an ambulance come for him, and they used to take him to what they called the day hospital.
Right.
Now it was like a hospital, and it was at Havelock Hospital. Right, that's where it was run from. And it was like physiotherapy within the hospital. Now there was dozens of people in the same boat as your granddad. And all the old folk, or old age people, there used to be a lot of elderly, that's the best way to put it. There was a lot of elderly people used to also help at the day hospital.
Right.
People, physio. And some of the people, they were all okay, but they helped the people that had, and you know, and that's how it come about. And basically speaking, what happened was, your granddad Hartley used to often ask me to take me records up to play for all the out-day patients, you know, and so on and so forth. And to be quite honest, I was quite reluctant to do it. And I used to argue the toss with your grandma, you know, about the idea of taking me records to play for the old folk, you know. Anyway, on this occasion I'd been down with the flu, and mind I was poorly. And it was the second week of recuperation, if you know what I mean, that your grandma Hartley said to me, your dad's expecting you to go up to the day hospital with your records to play for them. And to be quite honest, my attitude was, oh, for crying out loud, I'm not going to go up there, for God's sake, am I? And yet,
But this wasn't hospital radio, was it?
No,
this
nothing to do with it.
This was just like
I'm talking about day hospital.
Is this just like a room with a record player in the
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So I was humming and ahhing and uffing and puffing and like, you know, and your grandma Hartley said to me, oh, just take your records up and pacify them, you know. So to be quite honest, Farron, that's exactly what I did. I took my record player up and played records. And I'll tell you exactly what I played.
Yeah.
I played the Sound of Music.
Okay.
It was all the rage at the time. And it was,
What, like once was a good to know?
Yes, but it was all the rage. It was top of the pops in them days.
Right, okay.
And I played the record, and everybody, all the people thought it was fantastic, played it, you know. And I had a pretty good system. I've always had a good system. And the fascinating thing was, there was an elderly lady that was helping.
Yeah.
She wasn't a patient, she was helping. And she said, I've been listening to your music. Ever thought about doing a one for Over 60 Club? And, well, you couldn't very well say no, I've never bothered, like, you know. And I said, yeah. And I said, no. She says, will you do what you've done at our Over 60 Club?
Yeah.
And the first Over 60 Club I ever worked was down Hendon, and it was not Valley Road, it was, what was the other one? Hudson Road. And I went home and I told your grandma, I told my mum that I'd been asked to do for an Over 60 Club. Now, bearing this in mind, there was no poorly people, it was an Over 60 Club.
Yeah.
And I went down there and I thought, I'm going to have to think of to do a programme other than just stick a blooming LP on.
Yeah.
You know, but I had to do it. So I did a bit of what I thought was right, like for the day.
Yeah.
And I I did that, and I went to. I did it, and took the place by storm. And your grandma said to me, "There, go on, I told you." I thought, for God's sake, woman.
I imagine people who are like over 60s probably want to hear music from the 30s.
Yeah, well,
Like flipping.
don't forget, I did say
They're probably want to hear things like Glenn Miller or something.
Yeah, well, Glenn Miller, but Jim Reeves,